Welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. Now, in addition to this being Valentine's Day, it's also Organ Donor Appreciation Day. And get this, Donate Life Texas, an organization that started in 2006, they wanted to get more people to sign up to be donors. They just celebrated a huge milestone last Sunday. They registered their 5 millionth donor. Please welcome Gay Johnson from Donate Life Texas and John Godwin, who will share his personal connection. Hi, how are you guys?
Very good.
Okay, you got to tell me about your organization. 5 millionth registrant, right?
Yes, and we are actually still in our infancy as far as like in the United States, every state has a state registry. Texas is one of the last states to get a registry. So 2006, we think we've done great by getting 5 million people, but there's 19 million Texas, so we have a little bit space to go. Yep, yep.
And so tell me a little bit about how people can sign up to be a donor. I did register to be a marrow donor a couple years ago, but not necessarily an organ donor. So tell me about this a little bit.
You can go to the website donatelifetexas.org. It'll take less than a minute, and you can sign up on that registry. And when you do that, you have signed your consent to be an organ and or tissue donor, which is a great thing in the state of Texas, because in some states you can register to be an organ donor, but the way the law is written, the organ procurement organizations would still be required to approach the legal next of kin for consent. Whereas in the state of Texas, once you sign up to be an organ donor, we're going to fulfill those wishes.
Well, that's great. Now, John, you know, when you think about organ donation, it can be a little morbid, okay? But you're the epitome of why it's important, right? Tell us your story.
I went to Mary Hardin Motor to take my youngest daughter for her college orientation, and while we were sitting in the cafeteria, I had a heart attack and drove myself back to Dallas, checked into the hospital, had a 10-hour surgery, was unconscious for a week, and they told my wife I had 2 or 3 days to live.
Oh my goodness.
She was picking out pallbearers and making funeral arrangements, and on July the 2nd I got a new heart, and now I'm good as new.
Wow, if you could tell your donor family a message right now, what would you say to them? I mean, what a sacrifice that they did to make sure that you're still alive today.
Yeah, and I would not be alive. I mean, they literally saved my life, and they lost someone dear to them, which is the horrible part of this. But that life wasn't wasted because they saved somebody else's life. I don't know if they donated other organs. I assume so they probably saved 3 or 4 or 5 lives besides mine.
Wow, that's amazing. And tell me a little bit more about your organization and how you try and get the word out to people to make them understand how important this is.
Well, it's venues like this. It's working with our communities, whether it be health fairs, churches, getting that information out, and really breaking down some of the barriers. You use the word morbid. Breaking down that thought, like why do you consider that process morbid when at the end of life you're able to give life, which I think is an amazing thing, and especially on a day like today, it's a unique way to share your life and share your heart.
Well, I was always told growing up, remember, if you mark your license as an organ donor, then they wouldn't take as much time trying to save you. I think that's a rumor I had heard growing up if you're an organ donor, and that's just not true.
It's not. We're completely separate from any hospital, and when patients are brought into the emergency rooms, the goals of those teams is to save that patient's life. And only when every medical measure has been exhausted are we notified. We're completely, again, a separate organization. We don't live in hospitals. We don't have staff that work in them.
So, John, what message would you send to people out there who are considering maybe signing up to be an organ donor? Do you have a message for them?
Well, absolutely, you need to do it because it does save lives. There are thousands of people on waiting list right now, and a lot of those folks are not going to make it. It's a tragedy if you lose someone, but it's even worse if 2 people die because of that. And an example I like to give is there's an 11-year-old boy who grew up the same hometown as I did in Marshall, and he was on the waiting list for 14 months. And he was extremely, extremely sick. Well, on January the 2nd, he finally got a heart. So, you know, I can't imagine someone losing a child, but they saved a life when they lost that child.
What a gift to give to someone on Valentine's Day, really.
It's a gift that's hard to beat.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you can find out more information about Donate Life Texas by going to thebroadcasttv.com and just click on today's links. And coming up, it's a special performance for you on Valentine's Day from Sarah Hickman. Stay tuned for some sweet tunes.